Well, now it's time to introduce our extra special guest tonight, top chick lit novelist Jane Austen. So thank you for coming, Miss Austen. It's really nice of you to actually agree to be interviewed.
Oh, yes.
Last time I was on the show, you weren't here, so I didn't get to meet you, or I wasn't here. And it's really, really good. Gosh, I'm falling over my words. I'm a great fan of yours. I'm a little bit starstruck, so you will. But yes, your new TV series, Sanditon.
Yes. I wrote and produced it. I'm extremely pleased with. Well, when I say I wrote and produced, I mean I agreed a couple of words and suggested maybe one or two things that I'd rather be brushed over.
Is it really true that it's actually based on Bournemouth? It's about the growth of a seaside resort and the naughty goings on therein.
If you like.
Obviously, you want to be very careful about this, but your character, Miss Charlotte Haywood, is she kind of really based upon you in any way? Young lady who, by happenstance, finds herself in this resort and confronted by a society that she observes, kind of autobiographical in some way.
You must excuse me. I've had an interesting day. I've been enjoying lots of lovely things that Bournemouth has to offer. Did you know that there was a particularly wonderful establishment just down the road, past the gym, past the big pavilion place? There's a place called the Brass House, I believe. It's a reputable drinking establishment. And did you know that you can get a pint of something called beer? I didn't quite know what a pint was before today either, but now I know what a pint is, and a pint is a rather large amount of fluid. But I held a pint of something called beer, a lovely golden liquid, and consumed at least one or two or three of those on my way in. And I have to say, I feel fantastic. I realise I've digressed from the original question, so I will attempt to remember what the question was. Yes, I remember. It is yes.
Thank you.
The answer to that is yes.
And the character of Sidney Parker, this sort of gruff gentleman who Miss Hayward becomes involved with, it does seem to be echoes of your previous characters of Elizabeth Bennet and Fitzwilliam Darcy. Do you find that you tend to write characters that are very similar in the way that they interact? The young lady anxious to branch out of the confines of society, and the gruff, grumpy gentleman who eventually his heart melts for
I think that my characters they're supposed to be very different people. So, I mean, obviously there will be similarities. I think you put a lot of yourself into the characters you write, and Elizabeth Bennet is very similar to... We have certain characteristics in common, but I think it's the situations that are the same. I would say it's the situations rather than the people themselves. And I think if you put 10 people into the same very constricted society and subject them to the same social mores and restrictions, 9 out of 10 of those will react in very much the same way. And I do think that that's probably where a lot of those similarities come from.
This is a kind of a trope of yours that people are forced to interact into a very limited social setting.
We spend much of our lives, darling, being forced into structures and schemata that is all supposed to be polite, and it's the way polite people do things, and it's society. But is it good for us? Is it good?
Well, it may well be. I mean, we were watching your new series on Sunday night, and Mrs. Mitchell was quite startled by the scene where Sidney Parker springs unexpectedly out of the sea, where he has been bathing in a natural condition in front of Miss Hayward, who is obliged to avert her gaze, as indeed any lady would do.
Of course,
under those circumstances. Please make sure you do, ladies, if you're listening. But this water scene does seem to be a kind of an overdone trope. It was done in your earlier Pride and Prejudice.
Well, as you well know, the TV adaptation is very different to my original novel. The themes are the same, but there are some things that I did that I cannot take the credit for.
How do you feel about this trope, the water scene, confrontation, exposure being used again, repeated?
Well, I think that, like I'm saying about strict societies and very strictly cultivated ways of doing things, that there are certain outlets. If you turn a pressure cooker up too high, it's going to explode. You need a flue to let out certain bits and pieces, and the trope of the water is the perfect opportunity for things to happen.
It's symbolic.
It's symbolic. It's symbolic of. You must excuse me. I may be feeling the fourth pint that I used to call
the beer, yes.
that thing.
Yeah.
And the more I try to form cohesive sentences, the more I regret that last one. And the little shot of something that they called sambuca at the end as well. I'm just entirely sure.
I believe it comes from Italy.
I thought that sambuca was something that was a plant that made you grow and made you strong. I thought I could do with a shot of that before a radio show. So I had some of that.
So is this trope because you had any personal experience of gentlemen emerging from the water?
No, I just wish I had.
Not even at Mary Shelley's hen party?
Not even at Mary Shelley's hen party. I would like to say that there were interesting things happened. I would like to say that interesting things happened at that party.
Obviously, your fans would want to know about this.
Well, maybe I'll write another TV series. Maybe I'll even write it under another name. Shemaine Schmorstin. You know.
Okay, possibly.
They'll never know it's me. They'll never know.
Possibly. How do you feel about other adaptations of your work? Pride, Prejudice and Zombies, for example.
I thought it was rather entertaining, actually. Okay. I didn't know the concept of what a zombie was at the time of writing my original great work. However, I did find it rather entertaining. I have to say, you 21st century postmodern lot do know how to over-adapt something. I haven't noticed many news stories of late. It's all very much... I mean, it's fine, it's good. Pride and Prejudice and Zombies is
Obviously, your novel developed in an unexpected way.
But maybe if I'd written it now, who knows? Who knows?
Talking about, there's some ideas of people who've been suggesting for prequels, obviously, that you may be interested in. Captain Frederick Wentworth prequel, based on the daring do of the Napoleonic Wars, ships and seas. Would you be up for doing that?
I'm far more interested in where my characters go after I've put them through the situations that they've been through. I would be far more interested in how long were Elizabeth and Darcy married, and how many children did they have, and I'm not one to tread over.
I believe someone's already done that. It's called Death Comes to Pemberley.
We do not discuss Death Comes to Pemberley.
Okay.
So when I said I like some of the adaptations of my work, I wholeheartedly dislike some of the cultural artefacts that have been produced. I didn't like it. It was I didn't like it. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe it's the beer talking. Maybe it's the sambuca. Maybe it's the other thing. That maybe it was the thing in the glass called the wine. Maybe it was even the sandwich I had on the way here. But I cannot get behind Death Comes to Pemberley.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously, but the royalties, I assume, help cushion the blow of...
Absolutely, yes. But I don't know. I thought that I'd endowed my characters with some very, Elizabeth is like this and Darcy is like this, but there's a lot of subtleties there under the surface, and there are a lot of things that are unsaid as well as things that are said, and I felt that Death Comes to Pemberley was more based on what was said rather than what was unsaid. I felt that if you are going to take well-established characters and create a new story, you should know them. You should know them like you know your brothers and sisters. That's how I feel.
And you don't feel that they knew the characters particularly well?
No, I think that they may have read Pride and Prejudice maybe once or twice at middle school or something, and decided that they automatically knew everything about that world. And yeah, I don't know. But I did like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Can I ask what you're working on at the moment?
Well, I'm surprised you don't. It's a difficult question, I have to say, because if I've been working on it back then you should know about it now. So if you don't know about it now, or you do, and it's a line of questioning based on the fact that you don't already know the answer. So I am confused by that, I have to say.
There are these rumours that there's huge numbers of your manuscripts that are hidden away, waiting to be discovered in secret locations around the world.
Oh, I'm very sorry to interrupt. The lady with the lady with the mad hair and the red flowers pointing at you.
Yes.
She's pointing at you to say it's time for something.
Yes. Oh, good heavens.
What kind of a name is Kimari, anyway? Who do you think you are?
I believe it's her stage name, Miss Austen. It's not her real name.
The stage? How scandalous.
Yes, indeed. And
who does she think she is? Me, Jane Austen.
Possibly sign my copy of Pride and Prejudice.
Hang on, yes, I'll just reach over and get it.